Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Greatly appreciate it. Thanks to all of you for joining me this afternoon, and to everyone in live stream land, and the virtual audience as well. It is my pleasure to be here in Kalamazoo. It's my first visit to the area. It's been very eye-opening and a beautiful opportunity to learn more about the richness of this area. I am a native of the Choreographic land, which is known as Louisiana, specifically Lafayette. And I come to you from Boulder, Colorado, which sits on the territories of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations. And in offering up that acknowledgement, I know that it is only a beginning point for doing the work and creating the change that's necessary. Just wanted to hold that up. I'm really grateful to be here again. Thanks to Rachel Miller, who's in the audience from RADFest, for bringing me here and to be able to offer my latest work, the conversation series, Stitching the Geopolitical Quote to Reviving Belonging to the Kalamazoo community. I also want to thank KIA for hosting this afternoon's ARTbreak, and to all the sponsors who have been supporting RADFest Festival this year. I often say the best introduction to me and to what I do is my work. And so I often say start with the art. And so what I would like to do as a beginning point is share a couple of videos with you that create a connection to what it is I do, and then follow up with a little bit more information. I'm going to move out of this PowerPoint for a second. And the second is, this is a short trailer of Dirt, which I mentioned earlier, that I created in response to the onset of the pandemic and racial uprisings. Here today to engage in this exchange and offering up this talk that centers dance and centers the body and centers movement. So another invitation into sharing what I do. I'd like to invite you to participate in an embodied practice. And it's a simple one. I'm just going to ask you to take a deep inhale. Followed by an extended exhale. And then allow your eyes to focus on something. It could be anywhere in the space. It's not have to be me, it doesn't have to be the screen, it could be anywhere in the space. Just allowing your eyes to focus. Capture a snapshot of directly what's in front of you. And then gradually close your eyes to capture an internal snapshot. As your eyes are closed, I'm wanting you to see the internal landscape of your bodies, the bones, muscles, tissues, organs, the fluid that is moving through, and how everything is engaged in a process of connection, disconnection, and reconnection. The contrasting, contracting, and expansion of space. And how this activity is supported by the breath. Breathing. Breathing is the fuel. Taking a moment to take it all in. And then give into yourselves another deep inhale followed by an extended exhale. And this time when you exhale, allowing your eyes to slowly open and refocus as if seeing for the first time. Much like restorative care, social justice is not a project. It's a way of life, a way of being. It is our breath. It is our energy source. I come to my work from three places. As an artist and an artist citizen, the consistent through line in and for my work is bridging the art and social change. More specifically, I do this by looking at the interconnections between contemporary American dance, cultural identities, and identities of Black men. I create intermediate projects that fuse together various disciplines: film, video, music, design, to create worlds that we can inhabit as audience members and as performers, to experience new perspectives. Another through line in my work is actioning by doing. I believe that our embodied practices gives us ways of knowing ourselves and our communities. Dance and performance in this sense becomes a vehicle for understanding complex issues around race, culture, and inclusivity. I use dance and performance as vehicles to shed light on untold stories, to share personal truths, and to show how our embodied narratives can bring us closer together. I engage in the work of linking art and social justice by reframing performance and the relationship between artists and audience. I would say that the more traditional performative setting is one where the audience is almost positioned in a place of voyeur and come to witness the individuals who are on stage. Through my work, I invite the audience to be collaborators. As you're in your seat, you're an active participant in the landscape. Your energy feeds my energy. A conversation happens between us. Third, I believe that art and the work of social change share many things in common. They both require engaging in practice. They both require being committed to a sense of ongoingness. They're both rooted in ritual. They're both designed to unlock new opportunities for self-reflecting, acquiring new knowledge, discussion, action, and relationships towards creating a sense of community and belonging. This brings me to the work that you've heard me mention a few times already, the conversation series, Stitching the Geopolitical Quilt to Embody Belonging. This is my current work, and I'm intentional in the language of using the word work versus project, because as I mentioned, I do not feel the work of social change is a project. Oftentimes when we think of a project, we think of a beginning point and an ending point. And I see this work as an ongoing journey to make the change that I'd like to see in the world. To invite others to join me in the walk of making the change that they would like to see as well. And that change is anchored in something around creating a greater social landscape that embodies inclusivity, that celebrates difference, that sees our country as being what it is because of its hybridity. The conversation series, Stitching the Geopolitical Quilt to Embody Belonging, is an ongoing dance quilt that celebrates and honors difference and inclusivity. Central to it is a male duet. My duet partner is a writer-turner. And the work requires that we travel to all 50 states, 5 inhabited territories, and DC to create a section of the work. And by creating a section of the work, it is created in and with the community. So rather than showing up with something that is pre-planned and already devised, the interest is to come in and learn of communities, engage in conversations, and be inspired by these exchanges to offer up a new perspective to how we coexist. My inspiration, similar to what I offered up about the Screen Dance Church. This work emerged during the pandemic. And it emerged at a point in time when I felt I could not walk in public and feel safe. And my way of moving through or responding was that action. And in my own way, in the way that I could, I started to walk up to 16 miles every day. Same path, same time. Because I was afraid to be in large crowds because I didn't know what that would mean, what would the implications be, because we did not have enough information about COVID. I knew I wanted to return to being outside. I knew I wanted to unlearn fear. I knew I wanted to be recognized as a member of my community and not as a stranger or someone who might be suspect. And the little story goes that in the taking on of these walks every day, at the same time, the same path, I started to witness others engage in their daily rituals as well. And so at a certain point, we started to recognize each other in the same space and time. A little bit more time passed, and a wave happened. A little more time passed, and a good morning happened. A little more time passed, we exchanged names. And I was able to say, I live right down the street from you. And from that point on, we were able to engage in conversations and start to build new friendships. That action in part inspired this work. I feel this work is an extension of the walking. But now taking the walking out of my immediate community and going into other communities and learning how to walk with them, to understand their stories, their histories. I would offer up another inspiration for this work was my artistic relationship with my duet partner, a writer-turner. We had been working together for about 3 years on different work, and at the end of that process, I realized that our work was not over, but I didn't necessarily know what was the next step. And then life happens, and you get a clue in, or I got a clue into maybe what that next work could be. The onset of the racial uprisings brought back to the forefront the friction between difference, and in recognizing that we were different bodies, and in thinking about what might be that dream world that I'd like to see all of us be able to inhabit collectively. Part of getting to it required working with someone of difference. Not doing the work alone, but doing the work with. And so that became another seed in creating this work. You've heard me talk a lot about community. I feel at the base of the dance of social justice is asking the question, how do I enter community? And what does it mean to exit community? Because exiting can be a form of entering, particularly if I'm interested in bridging long-term relationships, which I am through my work. And so in this case, I offer up that my approach places special attention on both ends of the spectrum, because I see them both integral to care and repair, and crucial to establishing the long-term relationships that will lead to building with community. In this sense, the conversation series, Session Geopolitical Culture Rebody Belonging for me is not the work itself, but it's the catalyst for doing the work. I think the work that we do in the community is the real work. To meaningfully and thoughtfully engage in the practice of mobilizing the work of social change, considerations must be given to how to enter and exit, and how can exiting be reimagined as entering and integrating into community. Why is it important to care about both ends of the spectrum? I've just listed some, but again, naming that they're both integral to care and repair, they're both crucial to establishing long-term relationships. The whole makes possible building with community. Engaging community for this work required working collaboratively with Ryder Turner to build what we call systems for care and repair. And we've been most grateful to be able to engage in this work this past week with community members here in Kalamazoo. Originally designed to consist of 4 activities, we're now up to 7 activities that make up the system for care and repair. And I'm just listing them off. The Belonging Conversation Community Gatherings, which is designed to bring together intergenerational groupings to emulate the interstitial tissue that connects us through shared stories. This artist talk, which is happening right now, which happens in many capacities as a way to engage in trust building. Sometimes it happens very early in the process. Other times, like into this one, it is an opportunity to offer up exchange and share the work that I do, create an introduction. Illuminating Your Voice workshop, which centers embodied storytelling and sharing, a means to map diverse histories and embrace one's own history as part of the fabric of one's location, town, city, state, province, country. Connecting improvisation movement workshops, self-discovery and communal expression emphasized through exploring contact with one's environment to resurrect buried linkages to land. Cultivate Sessions, just a multi-arts guided session that explores art and social justice as social action through practices that emphasize the centering of one's own imagination, blueprinting what's being imagined to create positive change and manifesting it. And finally, Framework of Contemporary Dance Practice offers an opportunity for us to share with community members choreography that is performed in stage productions by myself and Brian. The one thing I want to uplift in offering all of these is that the trajectory is past, present, future. That to create the world that I'm imagining of, to get closer to coexistence, I understand that it requires something about understanding our past and how we got to now. And what does that navigating that wisdom, holding that wisdom means to dreaming up the future. These activities lead us into what's called a choreographic ritual. It's a free site-specific offering or share back to community members to continue in the work of constructing an embodied pathway. So here again, I'm coming back to that central word of conversation, exchange. In the process of learning with community members, we then offer back a response to all that was shared with us. Just recently, we did a choreographic ritual at the First Baptist Church in Kalamazoo as our offering back. Earlier in September of 2021, we did a residency in northern Michigan. And that choreographic ritual took place in Lake Michigan. And I would like to share a short video clip of that choreographic ritual. Was about 25 minutes, and it was followed by a post-talk with community members who were in attendance at the choreographic ritual, but also community members who have been with us on the journey of the systems for care and repair. Doing the dance of social justice for me feels more like art is a vehicle for social change. And that while I could be super excited about all the things that I can explore and do with art, I engage in all of those explorations and all of the excitement with a greater purpose in mind. And I keep coming back to connection. I keep coming back to individual relationships. I keep coming back to what are all the ways in which we experience connection. The greater arc of the conversation series, Stitching the Geopolitical Quilt to Embody Belonging, will yield multiple outcomes. There'll be new choreographies, a feature-length documentary film, a digital humanities living archives that will be made available to the public, and the ways in which you're creating and engaging with community. A diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice toolkit will be made available for communities across the country to access. This toolkit will consist of tools, toys, exercises, content gleaned from our experiences that could be shared with individuals to find their path to making the change that they would like to see, for engaging with their communities to make the change that they would like to see. And so as the additional offering up, we come to the stage production, and circling back to performance on Friday evening, which will be the first stage production of this work. I have not said this, but Michigan became the state through which this work was able to be launched. So we are just at the beginning of our journey, and we'll be heading into Louisiana, Mexico, and other places in the coming year. We're also working in Colorado at the moment to build a Colorado dance group. But what does the stage production look like? What will you see if you are thinking about coming to our show? What does our work look like on stage? What is Helanius interested in? This gives a glimpse of the set design, all of what's involved in the making of the stage production.
The vision for this work is to stitch our country back together again, one state at a time. The vision for this work is to stitch our country back together again, one state at a time. So the project requires going to all 50 states. Every place we toured, there will be a different configuration.
These panels that are up here are going to be hung in different ways in different theatres.
I'll be playing with a sense of familiarity and timelessness.
I'm fascinated by art and technology, and then I'm interested in how to bring to life worlds that reflect what I imagine the future looking like. This is a battery regulator. I know about the sensors, but I don't know about anything behind the motivation. Everything is moving to mirror my 12-mile walks.
How am I in this right now?
How can we as dancers build this relationship where we're also creating the world? The vision for the
Sometimes it's good to have the echo. I would like to open up to the Q&A portion of this morning's session. Open up to any questions and or comments that you might have. Yes, please.
When you move into, when you go to a new community, how do you get started with the conversation? I'm sure not everybody is familiar with you, so you have to sort of introduce yourself. So how do you begin?
Thank you for that question. The question is, when I go into a new community, how do I begin? Especially knowing that I may not be known in some of the communities I go in. So what does it mean to walk in? Relationships become super important in the sense that there's this, I'll call it a collaborative bridge, where there are varying stages and various individuals through whom I try to nurture relationships. So in every place that I'm going to, I first try to connect with an organizational partner, someone who is anchored in the community, someone who may be interested in the kind of work that I'm seeking to do, And they sort of become like the seed, the local seed, and a conduit for putting me in touch with other members of the community and walking with me to start a process of building relationships. And so specific to Kalamazoo, Rachel Miller, again, was very significant to GradFest in serving as the organizational partner for this process. And through my conversations with Rachel, we were able to identify and create a framework for how I can begin to work with members of the community. So that's one. A step above that, just to offer, when speaking with an organizational partner for the first time about the work, I'm coming in and asking a few questions to get us going. One of those questions is, what are their gathering sites in your community, known or lesser known? Who's connected by those gathering sites? And is there public access available? And if we gather at these sites, could conversations at them start to spark a way of engaging in framing or understanding how folks are connected and how we can experience belonging? So those are some base questions that I'm asking to come in to the conversation. There's this connection to our orientation around the land. How are we connected to the land we live on? How are we connected to each other? And how can we continue to expand our conversations to invite more individuals? I would say those are my starting points. But having a local liaison is that anchor.
Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. I have a statement, there is a question at the end.
Yes, thank you.
So I think this notion of stitching the deal with the quilt to revive belonging, I think that's incredibly profound. Thank you so much, that's really resonating.
Thank you.
And I'm very interested in the work of Julie Moretti, who's a Cape College grad, and she deals a lot with how geopolitical forces influence migration. So I'm thinking about the Russian invasion of Ukraine right now, and how these external forces in the world push us around, right? So once someone has been impacted or even victimized by that, then how do you stitch things back together? What does reviving, belonging mean? I mean, so this statement was full of so much emotion for me, and you clearly thought about it a lot intellectually and through the movement. So I'm asking you to just give us some more insight as to what that means, how you are helping us really put our arms around this notion in the world today, because it's very present and relevant to the moment that we're in.
Yeah, thank you for both the comment and the question. And I'm going to poorly paraphrase your question, which is how do I navigate this stitching the geopolitical code? How do I do this work when there are external forces and beyond our control that can inflict or cause histories, centric trauma, our difficulty to engage? How do we do this work? Particularly at a heightened moment in our lives right now. And it's so interesting because Roger and I in our rehearsal yesterday after doing a run of the work, and our process is I turn to him and I say experience, because he wanted to know immediately what happened to him. In the process of doing the work, and then I have a response, and my response was, oh my gosh, what's happening right now in Ukraine is being held in this work at this very moment. It is not absent, it has become a vessel for this. To answer your question, because the work is hard. I'm on a path without the guidebook. I'm on a path where I don't know what I will be confronted with, but I'm determined. I also know that to start anything, and particularly this for me, is to start where I can meet it. And where I can meet it right now is that I have 2 hands, this body, 2 feet, 1 foot to put in front of the other to make the change I want to see. So I have to start small, and I have to start with one relationship, and then maybe expand that to another, and to another, and to another. And I'm holding on to that word catalyst, because if I can inspire someone, that person will hopefully inspire someone. So it's not solely of my doing that I have to do it. It's a belief that the wings will spread and multiple people will want to engage. I never said this, but I talk in threes, so 3 things. Third thing. An anchoring for this work is to heal and unite. And I think to only think about to unite would be lofty and a little bit misguided on my part. The heal part reminds me that a lot has happened in many histories. A lot of stories have not been heard. A lot of healing needs to be done. And so then I come back to this connection to land. And I have this vision around blurring the lines, blurring the colonized lines by having individuals talk across lines with each other. So is there a world, is there a space where what I'm doing can follow the natural path of the land? And might that be the way in to do the work? The bonus in this is that oftentimes, again, I've moved away from the word project, because project will imply that I've created something and now I'm going to share that one thing with everyone. Well, what Ryder and I are on is a 7-year journey. And that's just to get through phase 1. So I'm personally committed to making small changes and to meet where I can meet. So that stitching for me is about the willingness to try, the commitment, showing up and showing up again and showing up again, because I am definitely going to be met with challenges. And there's something in that that's about not giving up. This dance is about dancing to become a better ancestor. I might not see the change, but hopefully the generations after me will see the change.
I love the part of the dancing in Lake Michigan, and we were a Great Lakes state.
Yes.
And what inspired you? I know you were in Northern Michigan, but what was it in you that you wanted to dance in the water?
Yeah, thank you for that question. The question is referencing residency in Northern Michigan in September, and the Choreographic Ritual shared where I had my dance in Lake Michigan and what inspired us to dance in the lake. Our experience there was quite powerful because it was our first, and it's now become our anchor sort of guide us as we start to move into new places. And a real source of inspiration in so many ways. What I will say is that 2-week residency began with a 6-hour Indigenous history tour that culminated in a belonging conversation where we didn't know who would show up, and if anyone would show up, and 25 people showed up. And over the course of our work there, all those stories, there's so many of the stories shared with us, led back to water. And I started to understand that water was essential. I started to understand that water perhaps held a real image for the state of Michigan. It was also in relationship to the tree that we were dancing in front of, which was the last one standing. And we just learned not too long ago that the shoreline has moved and there's no longer water there. But that particular point in Lake Michigan, we were surrounded by Indigenous history anchor points. On one side of us was called a Big Rock, which was a place where they summoned to travel home, and say they would cross, travel home to the opposite side. So we were in the center of the path to traveling home. And just to come back to the summoning point of Big Rock, it's also a place that holds the first nuclear power plant in America. And it is also now a site of recreation. So the disparate histories that are converging there, but at the root, it's connection to land, it's indigenous root. It was about people gathering and journeying home. And so we found ourselves in the middle of those spots, and that's part of, I felt that tree hold ancestry, I felt the location held us, allowed us to be in conversation with the local community in a way that maybe we could not have. And it allowed us to be in communication in a way with both ancestors and with the community members who were present with us.
Well, I also thought, just we were talking about land. I thought that tree was very powerful.
Thank you.
Because the water, the Lake Michigan, we talk about how the water it's coming, it's taking over, it's moving inwards. Okay, you said it was but it is moving in.
Right.
It's drowning us a
Right.
little bit along the edges of our land versus the. And so I saw a real, just the land. I mean, I know it actually, if you're talking about, well, that it doesn't come.
Absolutely.
Tremendously, but I thought that is a very powerful image.
Thank you. We were also informed about that tree, that it may not be around in a couple of years. So, it just, not having the right words and not having the thing to hold what all of it represents, something about like being there at that moment and that, because it may not be that way ever again.
It could be very ephemeral.
Yeah.
For that ritual choreography, were music Lake Michigan? And if so, was that important to the choreography?
Thank you for that question. So the question is in regard to the choreographic ritual, And Lake Michigan was Lake Michigan the sound score, and was it important to the movie? Yes, it was the sound score. Importance, yes, in the sense that for me, when I'm thinking about choreographic rituals and offering, reflecting on what has it meant to listen, what has it meant to be with community, what has it meant to be in an environment that's not my everyday environment. What do I hear? What are the constant sounds? And so there's something about wanting to offer versus or something that may not have any connection. That said, choreographic rituals definitely along the way might include poetry, or it might include original sound scores that's maybe created with local musicians. So like the chord is open. It's a matter of how we're led to it.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
So like, say you're on a count of 8, but you don't have music to follow, you don't have a sound chord to follow, so how was that difficult in terms of choreographing with your artistic partners, because you weren't looking at each other? So did you just practice a lot to make sure you were together, or was it more spontaneous, or?
I love that question. I really do. So the question is in relationship to without sound, how do we dance as a duet and stay in sync with each other? So wonderful. So there is definitely a level of rehearsals that take place, but also there are multiple things going on, right? So the way in which my body is implicated in the environments we go in are very different from the ways in which writers' body is implicated. And then there is a conversation that's happening between the two of us, and then it's the two of us in relationship to everyone else. And so when it comes to choreography, at least the choreographic rituals right now, I see them more as scores that we navigate rather than 7/8. And there is a beauty in being able to work together for a few years now that we start to understand or have a way of being able to see each other and tap into each other's rhythms and flows. And so that even though we're not directly looking at each other eye to eye, there's a way in which we are peripherally connected to one another and can navigate a movement score. So I will say that we're not focused on how we get somewhere. But there is a harmony in what we're doing that's more in line with like yeah.
I was curious about, you have this wide palette of technology, dance, you're speaking now, video, and for those of us who are not real knowledgeable about choreography and dance, how that particular language, like what the various medium allow you to do in terms of expression. So, where music sometimes seems that when there's a limitation in what we can communicate with words, music sometimes comes in handy. Or I'm just curious about like the palette that you have and why you choose certain ones over another and what it allows you to express in your art.
Yeah, great question. Thank you for offering that up. All right, so I'm going to do my best. And I think the real question is focus on choreography, how are the additional components of my works either enhancing, supporting, or extending my choreographic process, being that all of my works, or at least in this particular work, it is multimedia based. Amazing question. Thank you so much for asking that. I think it's all of it. When I look at making work, I look at it as a puzzle, and each thing is a puzzle piece. And so there are multiple conversations, no pun intended, there are multiple conversations happening, and then I need each puzzle piece so that something can happen. Through choreography, through my interest in um, maybe the textures and the feelings, the rooms where these conversations, these choreographies can happen. So the way in which I look at my set design, I look at it as like removing audiences from their seats and sitting in a theater, but being transported into a field, or being transported into a spillway, or being transported into a living room scene. So I'm creating the world where the conversations happen and where the choreography is happening. I do think there are times when my additional components extend the choreography. It can amplify the choreography. It can add a greater dynamic to it so that we experience it collectively in a different way. There's nothing harmonious, interested in multiple intelligences, and so like for what one person might experience through watching the choreography, another person might experience that in what they're hearing, another person might experience that in what they're seeing. And so what if I have all of those things in this space? Then I've offered for everyone to have. I might also add too with this particular work, this stitching is an act of constructing. So all the one of them is interactive technology. So raw. So by the way, that's Ryder Turner. Right there, partner. So great also come to the show. So during Cheney McCroft residency and then Mary Kennedy became our community partner, and the work, if I'm framing that correctly. Very succinct. And that I can feel myself all over the place with me. emerge and a continued friendship to emerge beyond our time of now being. And some of our assistants are going to be here. Experience of navigating the art with us. To bring life. Is moving forward now in her area. Take it that way. I don't know if that's great. So yeah, that's what I'll name. Connected to them as well. I have no clue what time it is. Okay, good. Like, and share with you our first realization of the stage production. Last night we started to set up or build up the set design, and looking forward to being engaged with it this week, preparing for Friday. It's been really, really, really amazing to be here in Kalamazoo for the past week. And there's a lot that we are carrying with us about what's special about Kalamazoo. There is a lot that is allowing our eyes to be seeing the broader landscape that I'm imagining for the conversation series, stitching the jiggle of focal to embody belonging. Most certainly our hearts are open. We're deeply grateful for the generosity and the kindness and the eagerness to be engaged in conversation with us throughout the course of this past week and into today. I can't thank you enough for joining here as well as live streaming land visuals. There are ways you can find more information about us at the website.